Hello, everyone. We're just starting off in a second. If you want to join in, please check the chat. Link should be there. And we'll get started in a minute.
What's up?
Hello, Jason.
How's it going?
Good. Very good. You doing all right? Oh, you just muted yourself.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing good.
Are you back home? I know you were moving about last time we spoke.
Yeah, I'm still in Florida right now. I fly. We have a show this weekend, my band, so I fly back tomorrow afternoon, and then I'm there through the weekend. Then I fly back here Monday, and then I might stay the next week, and then start driving up the weekend after that.
Yeah,
Cause
yeah.
I gotta get back up there in March. I'm pretty sure I need to be back like mid March. So I don't know. I'll just figure I'll try back up there. But yep, I'm still in Florida at the moment.
Cool. Very cool.
Just wandering around. I just walked down. There's a Hindu temple down here. I didn't even know it was here. So I walked down to check that out. It was freaking beautiful.
I've never been inside. There's a couple not too far, but yeah, I know
Yeah,
like from me, but I've never been inside of one.
yeah. I didn't go inside because it was. I mean, it was closed. But I just walked up and walked around the building and stuff. But it's still. I mean, it's really pretty. They have like all the carvings and everything in it. And yeah.
Hmm. Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, the link should be posted in the comments, even on the YouTube channel. So if you want to join in, please join in. Otherwise, well, it's not. I know what it's going to be. It's going to be Yosef letting us know things, which I
Did
really
you watch
enjoyed
it?
last week. I really liked his perspective. It was good.
Yeah, that's nice. I wish you could hop on here though.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Where
So
we
I
did
do,
today? We did Deborah last time.
yes,
Deborah.
we are in chapter 6 of Judges. So we
Okay.
have gotten to Gideon.
Ay, ay, that's a big story.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I'm thinking we might only do half of it. It's interesting as the stories go, um, where you start off with these really, really tiny, kind of Cain and Abel, very short number of verses packed with a lot. And then it
Yeah,
gets into bigger and bigger stories as we go on.
yeah, that's true.
Yes, yes.
Yep. Yeah, because even well, I don't know. Yeah, Abimelech is pretty long too. His whole story. Now that I think about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you get a short one crammed in there, though.
Well, and I also
There.
continue to see that as an extension of this story. Like there's certain stories where these other stories, they just, um, yeah, where you can see a very very clear extension of what was previously happening. I do think that that's what's happening in the Abimelech story. Um, yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay. Let's. I'm going to share.
Good morning, Hezzy. You should hop in here.
All right.
Hop in. Oh, there it is.
See on the West Coast as well. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon for me, so that's why. Good morning to you, but it's good afternoon to me. So.
It'd be afternoon to him, right? Because he's in Israel, so
Oh.
I think he's like at least I think probably
Oh.
six hours ahead of us. Probably
Okay.
like 7 or 8 o'clock there, I guess.
Well then, yeah, he put some effort into saying good morning.
Yeah.
Bokatov, Bokatov. Um, all right. Shall we go to? I have not haven't seen Emily interacting with it. She did this morning, so maybe she will join us. But anyone
Okay.
else is free to join as well. But I think we should go into the text if you're cool with that.
Yep, I'm cool with that. You want me to just read off the screen again? Or do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah.
Matthew,
Yes.
hop in here, Matthew. Anybody join us if you want. It's good to see you.
Yes.
All right, so you want me to start? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
All right, okay. The people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian overpowered Israel. And because of Midian, the people of Israel made for themselves the dens that are in the mountains and the caves and the strongholds. For whenever the Israelites planted crops, the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. They would encamp against them and devour the produce of the land as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance in Israel, and no sheep or ox or donkey. For they would come up with their livestock in their tents, and they would come like locusts in number. Both they and their camels could not be counted, so that they laid waste the land that as they came. And Israel was brought very low because of Midian, and the people of Israel cried out for help to the Lord.
Okay, let's pause 1 second within this. I think there is something symbolic about the hiding in the ground, like the idea of hiding in caves and stuff like that. Like and that this image actually comes back repeatedly and is also what's it called? It's used in Revelation of like the people as they're fleeing, they hide in the caves of the ground and the crying out and all this other stuff. It's it's a major symbol.
It's in Isaiah a few times too. Hide in the caves and the clefts of the rock from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty, or something like that.
Yeah. And then there's also this part about referring to them as locusts in number. To me, and I might be wrong about this, to me that again is a reference to the plagues, like the idea that the plagues come and are God's judgment. That this, like they're fleeing and they're hiding and everything else, but it's seen as in reaction to the fact that they've rejected God.
Yeah.
And this kind of reminds me of there's at the end of Deuteronomy, it speaks of what will happen if you don't follow these laws, if you push away. And I probably should have pulled this up earlier, but I think they actually say if you are disobedient, you will be running away, hiding in the ground, calling for things. And that, yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I know in Leviticus, at the end of Leviticus, it has some of that stuff too, but I'm not. I think what is it, Deuteronomy chapter 28 or something? I think is the curses for disobedience. I'm not positive though.
Yeah. It starts in 27 and goes blessing for obedience. Yeah, curse for disobedience. But if you will not obey the voice of the Lord your God, or be careful to do all his commandments and his statutes that I command you today, then all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed shall be the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your ground, the increase of your herds and the young of your flock. Cursed you shall be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. I love this passage. I know maybe that's morbid. I
like the part in Leviticus too. I love that part. So yeah, I like those parts.
Yeah. Let me see if it says it, because I'm pretty sure it says. Search for the word caves. Yeah, but either way, this image of them hiding in the caves and calling out and everything, it is reminiscent of the section of cursing in Deuteronomy. Okay, continue then.
All right. When the people of the when the people of Israel cried out to the Lord on account of the Midianites, the Lord sent a prophet to the people of Israel, and he said to them, "Thus says the Lord God of Israel: I led you up from Egypt and brought you out of the house of the house of slavery, and I delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians and from the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out before you, and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am the Lord your God. You shall not fear the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice." Now the
Mhm.
angel. You want me to keep going?
No, yeah. No, let's
Okay.
pause 1 second there.
Okay.
I like that the prophet doesn't have a name. The people do cry out to God. The Lord responds, and it just says a prophet. It's
Yeah.
just some guy. Is it important what his name is? Like, can't we know that guy's name? No, apparently not important.
I would love to be that guy. I've always thought that would be just cool, like to just be unnamed and just kind of.
Yeah, unnamed biblical character.
Yeah, and you just no one knows it's you. That'd just be fun.
Yeah. Well, and particularly the notion of how people get remembered. This guy gets remembered for what he said, but I don't know. Like, I think that Judges is a tragedy, so a more heroic character doesn't actually get named. A guy who's a good dude, no name.
Oh yeah.
An obedient guy who just does what God says, who is powerful in all the ways we understand to be powerful, not the kind of character you need a name for in this story.
Yeah.
Only unexpected heroes with poopy hands, or women, or these are, or half breeds. These are the people that get names in this book.
Yeah, I never thought about that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, I always find it I'm maybe stuck on the idea of who gets named, who gets to have a name, right?
Yeah.
Pharaoh doesn't get a name in Exodus, right? He's always such a big character in the movies that it's always, it's always Ramesses, and like they make such a big deal out of it.
Yeah. Well, there's an interesting part. We're not there yet. But it's in the part of Samson where he says, "Why is it you ask about my name?" And I always think that's really, really important. So I think that's maybe that has something to do with that here. Where it's, I mean, the same thing is asked when Jacob wrestles with the angel of God, and he says, "What is your name?" And he's like, "Why is you ask about my name?"
Yeah,
and it's just like it's supposed to have that mystery, I think. So you're like, is it God or is it man? It's like, which one?
it's also, to me, that's a big rhetorical question. Like, I think you know.
What do you mean?
The why do you ask my name? It is, that's the question that people ask when they're interacting with God directly.
Oh, because
right?
I always think it's the other way around. Because I always take it as like it's important that it's a mystery because you want the tension of God and man. Because you're supposed to wrestle with like, am I really wrestling with the angel or God, or am I wrestling with my brother or something like that? That's what. But I guess it could be rhetorical, where it's just like, because I mean, when you read the text, it does seem rhetorical because it tells you this is like the angel of God, and then he's like, "Why do you ask about me?" So it seems like it kind of comes across, I guess, more as a rhetorical question. If I'm being honest, but
no, there's a couple of situations where there is a great mystery to it. Like I think that if you're reading the Jacob wrestling with God story, you're supposed to think that it's Esau.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like there's a weird it says the angel of God. Well, it says a man, but then I think it says an angel, and then but then you're also I think it's supposed to be Esau as well. Jacob's watching. What is he doing in the background? He could hop on here too.
Hi, Jacob.
Hi. The Hebrew Bible has a repeated theme that God, G-D, is at the very depths ineffable.
Yeah, there's a sense that he's not even able to say. Well, we're just about to get there. The inability to even say the name, right?
Yeah.
My name is Wonderful. His name is not. It's not like, "Hey, Wonderful, how are you?" Right? It's the idea that it's the Melech Adonai. He's carrying the name of God, and so
So I kind of wonder. I mean, I wonder if that's a little bit. I mean, that I don't know if that's intentional, but yeah, I kind of wonder if that's a little bit of the maybe what's going on with this prophet here too. It's like it's kind of supposed to be mysterious in some way. I don't know, but it does just I don't know. Like you said, when you just read it, it just kind of seemed like just this is just said in passing. Like yeah, it's not needed to mention his name. Kind of like when it's what is that in Genesis where it says and God made the heavens, oh, and the stars also. It's kind of like an afterthought. Like oh, and a prophet came. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so I really like this section that we just went to, and as I was saying before, the connection with Exodus and the plagues and everything.
Yeah.
So I delivered you from the land. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I led you up from Egypt and brought you out of the house of slavery. And I delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians and from the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out before you and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am the Lord your God. You shall not fear the gods of the Amorites in whose lands you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice. This is a very important section because it is setting up even the nickname that Gideon has.
Oh, we say more about that. I'm not sure.
He also goes by Jerubbaal.
Yeah.
And it is debated how you get to the pronunciation, which is, to me, his nickname is Baal's Bane. Or like Tyrant's Bane. I would translate it as Tyrant's Bane because that just sounds way cooler. Because Baal could mean like an owner of a slave.
Yeah.
Right. So even this imagery of I'm the one who freed you and obedience and all this other stuff, Baal could be the name of like a slave master.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could also, in a more romantic sense, could be husband. Like it means Lord, but it gets translated as master and also as like the Lord of a house, like a husband. But I just think it sounds way more superhero-y if his name is Tyrant's Bane.
Yeah, it does for sure. Or super villain. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Either way, it's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get there, but let's go immediately into the story.
Do you want to go? Or you want me to keep going? I don't mind either way.
Yeah, I'll read this section.
Okay.
It's important for people to know that we have found in the land of Israel sacred trees, and there's some issues about obedience and disobedience and how sacred trees are used within the text. Jason, you like the whole bit about how almond trees and pistachios were sometimes treated as sacred. So the menorah is supposed to look in some ways like an almond tree. But we also have the terebinth and all this other stuff. And what is the name? The Asherah may be a sacred tree related to.
That's interesting.
To worship. Like sometimes they found altars where there's a male and a female, and the altar will be for a male deity, and there'll be like a tree that's like the bride. Asherah may not even be a name; it may refer to like a consort, like the god's romantic goddess consort.
Okay.
Will be the Asherah. Sorry, let me just read the section. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth at Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." It just requires comments.
All right, let's hear.
He's hiding.
Yeah.
He is hiding, and God's greeting is, "O mighty man of valor." Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought that beating out wheat in the wine press, I always thought for some reason, that always strikes me as some weird sort of, there's got to be some symbolism or some sort of mystery there, but I don't know what it is. Because you just read it and I'm like, well, that makes sense, because he's just trying to hide, the grain from them so they won't take it. And I think that's kind of the surface level reading, but I don't know why it always strikes me as like there's probably something much deeper going on. But I'm not. Kind of like that phrase in Exodus. It's like another one of those little phrases that's kind of crammed in the story, and it's talking about like the wheat was struck or something, but the barley was not struck for the wheat, or it's vice versa or something, because one is the early crops and one's the later crops. And so I don't know why. It's just always like I always feel like there's some sort of mystery or symbolism happening there. In this same part, I just kind of get that weird vibe, but I don't know what it is.
Right. Well, and I don't know why this is the story that comes to mind. I worked with a couple of my friends, and I made it a rule, and just like I just said, we're going to do this, and my friends that I gave jobs to agreed with me. This is when I wasn't working from home, but actually had to drive into the office. If anyone got a raise, then you bought lunch for everyone. So you made like one of the ideas was like you put into what is happening to you thankfulness, gratitude, and you make it so that other people are immediately happy for you and not jealous.
Yeah.
Instead of people being like, oh, like upset that things go well for you, instead you create a situation where people will be, generosity makes it so that other people are happy when things are good for you. Right?
Yeah.
One of the things that, unless I'm mistaken, what would be done is you would beat out the grain, but part of the purpose of that is that you would do it in public because the wind played a part in it. Right?
To carry away the chaff?
Yeah, exactly. I heard this somewhere that you would, sometimes they would put it all on a giant sheet or a blanket, and then they would like fluff it in the air, and the wheat would come right back down and the chaff would just be blown away. No harm, no foul. Right?
That's interesting, yeah.
That's
really interesting.
Yeah, that farming, this aspect of farming would have been public versus winemaking, which was private.
That's
like you're
hidden,
covered away. Even the amount of sunlight that alcohol gets changes how it works, right? That's why beer's in dark bottles. If beer was not in dark bottles, it would go skunk like really fast.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
that's really interesting.
Wine is something hidden away versus
down in the cellar. That's really interesting. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of maybe could be understood here that the chaff is kind of not being carried away either in this, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fun little symbolic read. Yeah.
I don't know. That's really
I definitely think that there's this element of this thing that naturally was much more public than we consider when first reading it. We're like, why would it? But instead, that this would have been a public thing. And that's why I kind of thought of me sharing money with my friends and stuff like that. You wouldn't do that if you were worried about people robbing you, right? Like if you're in a bad neighborhood, you don't put your Christmas boxes in the recycling bin, like on the curb, because you're just advertising to people what they can steal from you, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh.
You
Yeah.
have to have, even putting out your trash is an act of faith in your community.
Yeah.
Because you're saying what you have inside the house. So he's doing this privately, and the private aspect of Gideon is central to what he's like.
Yeah, he's doing it like behind the veil or something, like covered. Yeah, that's really interesting, because he does other acts I know at nighttime, like in the secret places of like darkness and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that's really interesting, because even the wine, you're talking about wine being made in the dark, almost like in private, in the cellar, which is really, that's what I mean. There's all these deep mysteries here. I'm still not quite sure what to do with them, because when Jesus turns the water to wine, what always strikes me as like one of the most interesting things that he says, "Woman, what does your concern have to do with me?" Like almost like it's an aspect of the feminine. Wine has something to do with that, which would make sense. I mean, with if we get into the cycles, things like that, because wine is related to blood. But then I'm never quite sure what to do with all of that, though. It's really
well, and it's the characteristic of something that requires process. So the process is civilization. Civilization is mysterious and feminine. So even the making of bread, the creation of yeast it would be treated in this kind of covering as well.
Oh, that's
unleavened bread.
That's interesting.
Unleavened bread was traditionally cooked by the sun. Like what I mean is the I don't know if it's actually said in scripture. The idea is that the dough is in a bag, and you throw it on your back, and you're in the desert sun, and so it just cooks in your backpack.
Yeah, they carry it. They put it in. Maybe that's an Exodus where they put it in the bowls. They
didn't. We didn't have time for the bread to rise, so we just threw it on our backs, and we ate it like that.
Gosh, yeah, this is really fascinating. Yeah, I'm still not sure. I'm gonna probably be thinking about this a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the whole grain. Because I mean, even with Melchizedek, he brings out grain and wine. Yeah, so I'm just not sure what to do with all that.
Yeah, the importance of bread and wine, I think, is so important because it's not wheat and grapes. Wheat and grapes is directly from nature. Wine and bread is products of civilization.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like it's a.
Mm-hmm.
I see this as the co-creator role that human beings have. That we become co-creators with God. These are gifts from God, but they're gifts from God through human endeavor.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
yeah. That was a nice detour. Sorry, that was long.
Yeah. Let's
where were we? Mighty men of valor. That's where verse 13, I think.
Yeah. You read for a little bit.
Okay. And Gideon said to him, "Please, my lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonderful deeds that our fathers recounted to us, saying, 'Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and given us into the hand of Midian.' And the Lord turned to him and said, 'Go in this might of yours and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Do not I send you?' And he said to him, 'Please, Lord, how can I save Israel? Behold, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house.' And the Lord said to him, 'But I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man.' And he said to him, 'If now I have found favor in your eyes, then show me a sign that it is you who speak with me. Please do not depart from here until I come to you and bring out my present and set it before you.' And he said, I will stay till you return."
Okay, pause 1 second. So again, the connection with Egypt, especially here, he almost sounds like Moses at the burning bush, right? Like this idea of like, please, not me, and all this other, like the call that's rejected. It almost feels, because Egypt was what the prophet was talking about, it almost seems like Midian attended the prophet speaking about these things, but was just rolling his eyes the whole time. Like, what do you mean? I thought you're supposed to be like this. Why won't you help us out, right? Like, there's this element where it's like, it's Gideon, this is not God's fault. Like, it's not, he's kind of putting it on, why is this stuff happening? And then God says, all right, go in this valor of yours. So the valor is not his expression towards the Midianites. It's his willingness to be upset with God. Right? Where does he express valor?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Like it's ironic. So it's either he's not expressing valor at all, or it's ironic because the one place where he's standing up is against Yahweh. Like, buddy, this is the wrong fight.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, then he says, my clan is the weakest. So he's kind of, but God says, go in this valor, this might of yours.
Yeah. And we talked about this before too. Saul says that he's from the least of the tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
In fact, so it specifically says he's from the tribe of Manasseh.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two half tribes, right? The half tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yep.
And oftentimes it's just referred to as Ephraim. Like Manasseh gets left out a lot of times. So
yeah, and sorry, there's a big.
No, it's okay. So there's go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think even sometimes all of Israel in some parts gets referred to as Ephraim. I'm not really sure why. Like in what is it? I think in Hosea that happens a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, as the kingdoms become more and less stable, you have a majority group who become what the thing is. So the best example I can give of that is Jew just refers to Judah, right? I'm sure, I wouldn't be surprised if Jacob wasn't just from the tribe of Judah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I have a question though. With Manasseh being split, because I know they split out in half, and half Reuben and the half tribe of Manasseh stayed on one side of the Jordan, and the other half went the other way. Is that what would you? Because I was going to ask about this verse, the verse 16, where it says you'll defeat the Midianites as one man. Is that something that's going on there, where it's kind of because they're split in half, and he's saying you'll do it as one man, almost like there's a unity or something? I don't really know.
Yeah, I didn't.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Or?
No, I think it's basically saying you're gonna get rid of him like this entire army, like it was beating up one guy. But yeah, that is an interesting idea because there is an issue of unity throughout this story as well. There's so much division among the tribes that the two half tribes aren't even in it together. That definitely comes up.
Gotcha.
Where Ephraim does not come to support Manasseh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sometimes, like you said, Ephraim. Some people even believe the high priest's breastplate had 12 stones that are supposed to represent the different tribes. And traditionally, it's Ephraim's name that's on the stone, not Ephraim and Manasseh.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
and weird. In Jewish tradition, they believe so. The outfit is sometimes called an ephah, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's why later on the gold is collected, and the tribe of Manasseh make their own garment. But that's the thing that they whore after. It's it is somehow beyond the worship of the Lord. Some people think that's why they're not represented in the high priestly garment, and so they're making their own. They make their own thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'd not heard that before.
Okay, let's go to the next section. 19.
Okay. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to?
Please read.
All right. That night the Lord said to him, "Take your father's bull, the second bull 7 years old, and pull down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the Asherah that is beside it, and build an altar to the Lord your God on the top of the stronghold here, with stones laid in due order. And take the second bull and offer it as a burnt.
Wait.
Did I skip
Did
something?
we?
Oh yeah, I did. I think we scrolled down too far or something.
Yeah. I think we're supposed to be here. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Tehezi says it says Joseph, I guess, on the ephod instead of Ephraim. I don't know.
Oh.
That's interesting. Oh, someone popped in. I heard a thing.
Oh, Michael is joining us. Let me add him to the stage.
What's
Hello,
up?
Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, I gotta turn off something.
There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hear you great.
Turn the Bluetooth off. What's up?
Sounds good to me.
Well, we're going through Judges.
A couple minutes.
Have you been following?
I've been following since you were talking about wine, so not that long, but
All right,
pretty long.
all right. Yeah. We're long-winded. We keep on going.
We should make Michael read since he's driving. He can read off his tiny phone screen. I'm just kidding. No.
Okay, let's go. Let's start at verse 19, if you want to.
Verse 19 at the top there. Okay.
Yeah.
So Gideon went into his house and prepared a young goat and unleavened cakes from an ephah of flour. The meat he put in a basket, and the broth he put in a pot, and brought them to him under the terebinth tree and presented them. And the angel of God said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened cakes and put them on this rock, and pour the broth over them." And he did so. And the angel of the Lord reached out the tip of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened cakes, and fire sprang up from the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened cakes. And the angel of the Lord vanished from his sight. Then Gideon perceived that it was the angel of the Lord. And Gideon said, "Alas, O Lord God, for now I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." But the Lord said to him, "Peace be to you. Do not fear, you shall not die." Then Gideon built an altar there to the Lord and called it, "The Lord is Peace." To this day it still stands at Ophrah, I guess, which belongs to Abiezrites. The Abiezrites.
Okay, let's pause a second there.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It does seem to be that he identifies interacting with the angel as though he's interacting with the Lord himself directly. Like he has this fear that by interacting with this human being, he's going to die. I like that God's already gone, but because he's so scared, he like hears a voice. Because he's talking to the angel, and then the angel goes up in this very dramatic way, and he's like, "Ah!" And then God like kind of says, "No, it's fine, don't worry." Right? Like it kind of makes me laugh.
Jehovah Shalom.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from, I think. Yeah, the Lord is peace.
Yeah.
that was yeah. I mean, I was just reading this morning in what is it here, Leviticus 9, where they do the same kind of thing. They put the offering down, and then the fire. God sends the fire to consume it. So it's kind of like his signature move, and then obviously he does it later with Elijah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Some people, so in some texts, lightning is referred to as God's fire, right? Because people would see things get struck by lightning, they would light on fire, right? So with this, Baal is oftentimes a storm god. So he's a bringer of thunder and a bringer of lightning. Get you back in. So Baal would bring thunder and lightning. So even the possibility that the fire, I don't know how you guys picture the fire. When I think of it, I just think of it like going up in flames, not lightning basically coming from the sky.
Well, this one, I don't know, it's different in other translation, but it says on here that it's springing up from the rock. So that is different than
Well, that's a good point.
Then like in Leviticus, it says the fire came from the Lord and consumed the burnt offering, but here it's springing up from the rock. So
that's pretty cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, really cool.
It's like a little volcano.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, it's an interesting image. Okay.
Wow, that's crazy.
I think it's funny that there's broth involved. I don't know why. Like that part of it is just him being like I wonder about how long these things take to make, right? Like how long does it take to butcher a goat to make? Like this is a while, right?
It's got to be a couple hours. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, even just to get water boiling on an open fire.
Wait a second, I got to make a gallon of stock first. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah, there's so much there. I don't know what to do with it. The broth thing is interesting too, because you don't see that. I don't think you see it other places. Like I don't think it's in Leviticus. It mentions broth.
I mean,
a broth offering.
I mean, it is interesting that the angel tells him to pour. Yeah, he says to pour it over it, right? And that is what Elijah does with the water,
Right.
Caramel. So, which is like makes it, more surprising that the fire can come.
Makes the miracle much more clear, which as we continue reading on becomes an important set part of the story where he needs extra assurance. Jason, you wanted to read this next section so bad that you jumped ahead to it already.
Oh, okay.
So read it to us again.
All right. That night the Lord said to him, "Take your father's bull and the second bull 7 years old, and pull down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the Asherah that is beside it, and build an altar to the Lord your God on the top of the stronghold here, with stones laid in due order. Take the second bull and offer it as a burnt offering with the wood of the Asherah that you shall cut down." So Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord told him. But because he was too afraid of his family and the men of the town to do it by day, he did it by night.
So much character there. Baal is often depicted as a bull as well. Baal is oftentimes depicted in I think is it just descriptions that we have as like a bull-headed deity. So the idea that you're taking the bull to tear down the altar, and again the idea that the Asherah, there would be a tree beside the altar that would be like a sacred tree that we've seen in rituals, that he goes and the offering that he's going to make, he's going to, for fuel, he uses their sacred tree. It's a bit of a screw you, if nothing else.
Yeah,
right.
I would do that at nighttime too. I wouldn't do that in the day.
Yeah.
Get murdered. I don't even know how you'd get it done during the day. I'm sure people would stop you.
Well, and it sounds like his family. He was too afraid of his family and the men of the town to do it by day.
What is this? As he said, this is a low-level revelation. It is not actually a prophecy.
I don't know what part you're talking about there, Hezi.
I don't know either. The wife of Baal. Oh.
It is interesting that this...
I still don't understand.
This thing taking place at night the way it does, it kind of like foreshadows his victory at nighttime over the Midianites,
Yeah.
In a way.
Wife of Baal.
Yeah. It definitely does. So, sorry, Jason. The reason why he's saying the wife of Baal is that in other places, like we found archaeological evidence that some Israelites gave Yahweh a wife. So we have an inscription that says, like, it's an image and it's a male and a female together, and it's Yahweh and his Asherah.
Yeah, I'm not sure his comment. Like, this is a low level revelation. It is not a prophecy. God comes to him and night/dream, at night dream. So
Okay.
it's not a prophecy. I guess I'm just not quite.
Oh,
exactly
I think I see what he means. Is
okay.
There's a difference, like different levels of revelation coming to you at night versus coming to you during the day. So if it's during the day, you're fully awake and you see something, that's different than while you're asleep, you have like a dream, right? Like we all dream, but visions are a little bit more rare.
Oh, okay.
I think that might be what he's getting at.
I guess so, yeah. Instead of take your father's bull, I guess kind of sounds like a prophecy. I guess that's why I was kind of getting hung up. But okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is that sometimes these idols were used to give deities local dominion of things. So you believed a god was over something as evidenced by altars.
Okay.
And like statues and things like that. So to tear it down and then replace it with a statue of the Lord, this would have been seen as a turf war thing.
Yeah, I would be furious if someone cut down a sacred tree too. I'm sure that thing was beautiful. Yeah. That would be intense. Go out there and that thing that probably took like hundreds of years to grow is just gone and just burning up.
Yeah, and they're cooking barbecue over top of it.
Yeah.
Right?
like who the heck did this? Oh my god.
Yeah. Michael, anything else you want to add before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
On to the next part.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. All right. When the men of the town rose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was broken down, and the Asherah beside it was cut down, and the second bull was offered on the altar that had been built.
Pause 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be this kind of person, but in Genesis, repeatedly, the awakening early is used as a sign of obedience. So, what's his name? Lot, when he's in Sodom and Gomorrah, he sleeps in on the day that he's supposed to be going, and the angels are like, "What the hell are you doing? Get out of here!" Right? But versus Abraham, after he's given the commandment, when Abraham is given a commandment and he is obedient, it will say that he gets up early in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is, there's the people seem to be more devout than Gideon is, right? The awakening up early in the morning. Sorry. So there it is.
No, it's good.
So the meat is still cooking when they wake up in the morning.
And they said to one another, "Who has done this thing?" And after they had searched and inquired, they said, "Gideon, the son of Joash, has done this thing." Then the men of the town said to Joash, "Bring out your son, that he may die, for he has broken down the altar of Baal and cut down the Asherah beside it." Ow. Sorry, I think I get bit by an ant. But Joash and all who stood against him. But Joash said to all who stood against him, "Will you contend for Baal, or will you save him? Whoever contends for him shall be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him contend for himself, because his altar has been broken down." Therefore, on that day, Gideon was called Yerubbaal or something. That is to say, let Baal contend against him, because he broke down his altar.
So that's the part where I said
that name,
Tyrant's Bane. He starts being called Tyrant's Bane.
So much more parallels with the story of Elijah and Mount Carmel.
Yeah, I was glad you brought that up, because that's very clearly what's happening here. If Baal is God, let him answer. I just want to read this. This is just from Wikipedia. Okay. According to biblical scholar Lester Grabble, 632 gives a nonsensical etymology of the name. It means something like let Baal be great. Likewise, where Strong's concordance gave the name hewer to the name Gideon, biblical scholar Simeon John DeVries suggested the etymology driver. So it's somehow the use of that his name means tyrant's bane. That's not what Jerubbaal sounds like when they try to do etymology on it. And instead it sounds like it's making Baal great. So maybe Hezi has an opinion on that part, on name meaning. Okay.
I don't know. I don't have a comment. I do like the parallels of the Elijah on Mount Carmel though, with this story. It's really interesting.
I like to refer to that as a god off.
Yeah.
Like a cook off, but it's a god off. We'll see whoever god's better.
Yeah. This indicates that Yoash stopped believing in Baal and Asherah, is what he said.
Well, and I don't even know. Part of what I think of Baal is I don't even know if Baal may not have been a proper name, and so it also may refer to properly worshiping the Lord versus improperly worshiping him. Because that becomes a major theme as well, where I think at one point Israelites may have used that name to refer to God, but then that gets lopped in with improper worship.
I always like plural Baals used sometimes too, right?
Yeah.
Or there's like local Baals.
Right. Yeah. Like the in the Balaam story, it's the Baal of Peor, Baal Peor. Like it's not just Baal, it's Baal Peor.
That has to do with Midian as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, let's continue on.
All right. Let's see here. Verse 33, right? Yeah. Now all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east came together, and they crossed the Jordan and encamped in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord called Gideon, and he sounded the trumpet, and the Abiezrites were called out to follow him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, and they too were called out to follow him. And he sent messengers to Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, and they went up to meet him. Okay, do you want me to keep going?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't. Yeah, there's.
I don't know what to say.
Well, except for the fact that it's the Spirit of the Lord that clothes him. So it's again, there's repeatedly throughout this idea that the Spirit of God or the Spirit of the Lord is what empowers the judges to do what they do well.
Yeah, and so where is all this happening? So I'm guessing this is happening this is in the tribe that is across the Jordan, because it says all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east came together and they crossed the Jordan. So it sounds like he's in the tribe of Manasseh that's in the land of Canaan, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, the east side is like the west side of the Jordan is where most of the tribes are. So
okay.
So if they're coming from the east, then they're crossing into the land.
Yeah.
From the side.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting too, because with some groups that pillage, there's pillaging season, right? You don't, like, there's times where all the food is gathered, and there's times when the food is not gathered. And
Yeah.
so even though they're like the foreign occupation, they only
Spring of the
show
year.
up occasionally. It's the time of year for pillaging.
Yeah, there's a line in Kings, I think it's the Book
Yeah.
of Kings, and in Chronicles, it's in both of them, and it says, in the spring of the year, the time when kings come out to battle, or something. So there's, like a time in the
Yeah, let's not be
time when
ridiculous. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
You don't do it over the holidays.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
gets in. I think that gets in the parable when Jesus says to watch the fig tree and watch all the trees and the leaves. For when you see the vine like is budding, when it's springtime, you know that the day is near. Because it's the
Right,
spring. Yeah.
right. The time that's right.
Yeah. That's interesting. Anyway, do you want me to keep going or?
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
read one of my
Almost.
favorite stories from this book.
Really? Okay, gotcha. Do you want to read it or you want me to?
Sure, I'll read it.
All right.
Then Gideon said to God, "If you will say," I'm sorry. When I read two words and immediately go, "Hey, there's something there," it's not God's name. I just think that's interesting because there's all this stuff about the name of God, the angel of God, where the angel of the Lord, the use of the divine name repeatedly. It's interesting to me that this interaction is without God's name. He's just been held by the spirit of the Lord, right? Like it's God's name is there, but now it's just God. Then Gideon said to God, "If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said, behold, I am laying a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece alone, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said." And it was so. When he rose early next morning and squeezed the fleece, he wrung enough dew from the fleece to fill a bowl with water. And Gideon said to God, "Let not your anger burn against me. Let me speak just once more. Please let me test just once more with the fleece. Please let it be dry on the fleece only, and on all the ground let there be dew." And God did so that night, and it was dry on the fleece only, and on the ground there was dew. This has got to be funny, right?
Is so I mean, at this point, he already knows like his thing that he's supposed to do is go fight these the Midianites and whatnot. So, because it kind of reminds me of like when Abraham's talking to God about
Yeah.
pleading with him over Sodom, and it's
Yep.
like this thing of like which is a sort of a cataclysmic event. And
Yeah. Let not your anger burn against me. Let me speak just once more.
yeah,
Right? Like that does sound very Abraham.
yeah. I mean, I think obviously, I think it's part of the people that God chooses. Like because same thing with like Moses. And because I was thinking about that thing like when after the golden calf, and Moses is God's like saying like, "Oh, I'll start over with you, Moses," and Moses is like, no, let's forgive these people instead. And like I see it as like God was doing that because he knew that's what Moses would say, like and it's like, and I think in the contrast, I always think of Saul, like Saul, when he's supposed to kill the Amalekites, he's all like, "Yeah, let's go for it." He doesn't protest at all, but then of course, he also doesn't do it the right way. But like that was like the test. It's like when God asks you to kill people, like you should question God, like.
I get that perspective. It is something courageous that is being demanded of him, and because this has happened repeatedly already, where like the fearfulness of his character, it's difficult to put this as this is a sane question to be asking, because it instead to me is just like repeatedly the character of Gideon seems pretty clear. I always think about this as an actor, as like, if you were in a play, how do you play Gideon? Right? And to me, there's repeated things that come up again and again where it's like, I see what this guy's like. I see how to play him. um, yeah. And even this feels like divination to me. This feels like a way of like God has already spoken to him. And so this is to prove that you weren't lying. Because it even says that. It says, let me speak just once more. Please let me test once more with the fleece. Please let it be dry on the fleece only and on the, it was before. It says, verse 37, behold, I am laying fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece alone and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said. So it's God has already spoken with him, has already lit the broth on fire, all that stuff, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's like kind of almost that's an interesting thing, because it's, and when he does it again too, he's assuming that if God is, like the real God, he's not fickle. His his character is going to be consistent, so he's going to say it the same way multiple times, because like you can kind of see that, I don't know, just like like gods or demigods or demons or something, being impatient with people, short with them, like, how dare you question me?
Right. They would never have the kind of patience that the Lord seems to have here. Yeah, that's good.
In the churches I grew up in, that was like just kind of a saying they would have, like, don't put out fleeces or something like that. Like, they would use that term from this story, because they sometimes compared, I think, to because I grew up in Word of Faith, so it was very like, if the Bible says it, it's so you can take it and stand on it. And so it's kind of like, again, I think they'd often compare it to Jesus in the wilderness, kind of like almost like Gideon. What he's doing is in a way wrong. I don't think they would say it's wrong, though. Just like, you probably shouldn't rely on that. Like, if you think God is telling you to do something, it's probably not good to pray like, well, if that is you, God, then send a red car past me or something, and then just like trust that. It's kind of what they would make that comparison, where it's like, Jesus, it's like the devil says, if you are the Son of God, let this happen or this happen, and it's like, and he just needs, it is written. So
I know people who did that all the time. I know a ton of people that do that.
With the car thing?
Yeah, red car, and let it be shown to me in this, and do that. And I'm kind of like, I don't think you should do that.
It's weird, because I'm like, I don't know that it's necessarily wrong, but then again, I don't know that it would, like, if it was me personally, I don't know that it would affect me differently. Like, I think if I really felt convicted about something, it would be the conviction. I don't think, even if I prayed, let a red car pass by, and then a red car went by, I think I'd probably think in my head, well, that was a coincidence. Like, was that really God?
Well,
I should do the fleece again.
Yeah. That's my favorite part. It's not science, right?
Well, it's kind of interesting, actually, because it was on what's his name, Sam Transfigured channel. He was talking to a guy who wrote a book or something about like evolution in the Bible or whatever, or something, and he was basically talking about how like this passage like is showing like a an empirical kind of way of verifying something, like that it's not, because he's asking for like both the one example and then like the inverse, and it's like, well, one of those is going to be like, maybe like you could predict more likely due to natural, but then for it to do the opposite thing the next day is like, that's a pretty logical certainty that it wasn't just coincidence or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wonder, because it's almost like, if you're just saying like, have a red car drive by or something, that's there's such a like random aspect of it. But if you come up with a solution like this, it's creative. It's like he's obviously not, like, thinking like, oh, if you leave a fleece out on the floor, like, there's a certain thing that typically would happen, and then he's like specifically asking for something unusual, like,
Mm-hmm.
so because I'm trying to remember. I don't think I asked God to do any specific thing, but I do remember, like, so when I was feeling like God was telling me I should ask out my wife, who was not my wife at the time, obviously, and I was like, all right, God, this is what you want me to do. I need something. I need a little bit of like whatever. And then it was weird. Like, she sat down next to me in church, which we'd like gone to church together for 5 years, and she never did that before. So I was like, okay, all right, I guess that's a sign. And then the pastor starts preaching. He's like, we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about, like, I'm like, okay, all right, I guess
Love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
So I mean, I don't know. It's good. Like, God wants you to be like. I don't think He wants like you to be a psychopathic zealot because of like a weird a weird vision or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that is an interesting. Like it. There definitely is a certain amount of maturity and patience related to it as well, where you questioning yourself is probably like an aspect of humility. That the person who doesn't question and just does those things, like, I went to Bible college, and a lot of girls were approached by men who were told by God that they were supposed to marry this man.
I haven't used that
And
one yet.
it's very interesting that God
seems pretty effective.
Yeah, God told the man but not the woman, and then it doesn't work out. He moves on, marries someone else. She marries someone else. I suppose he was a false prophet, and we should throw rocks at him until he is dead. Yeah,
I've seen that happen a lot too.
That's the lesson. Just say, God told me we should go on a date. Don't jump all the way to marriage.
Yeah. This is a big thing. Yeah, it is. I do think there's a certain amount of sweetness to the fact that God has patience. Like, let me tell you, I ask my wife all the time what we're doing tonight, when she has told me multiple times. And you know what? She has the patience because she loves me, to tell me again what we're doing, even though I should have been paying attention. Indeed.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because I didn't even know this until much later. But then I found out that my mom basically did like a similar thing. There's actually a clip on my channel because I recorded my mom like sharing her testimony or whatever. But she was like reading about Rebecca and the servant, going to get Rebecca for Isaac, and she was like, "Oh, can I do that? Can I just ask God to like bring my husband or whatever?" And she was like, "Okay, God, I'll just put it in your hands." And then like some guy asked her out, and it's like, "Okay, I don't really like this guy, but I guess I'll do it." And it was like a terrible date. But then the next guy that asked her out was my dad. So it's like she went on one bad date, and then my dad, and that was it. So
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
interesting.
Yeah.
But I even thought that was an interesting thing because of, there is kind of that pattern of like, like Israel wants a king, and so God says, okay, here's the crappy king, just so you know how crappy kings are, and then you get the good king, like or even like with with Adam, like here, go check out all these animals, and then once you've compared yourself to all of them, here's a woman, like.
It's a great
He gives people like a body
Yeah.
of evidence to compare things to.
The hound
Yeah.
dog. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Send the
Yeah.
hound dog first. The animals.
Well, and it's an interesting image because yes, it's not optimal in certain circumstances. You want people that have good instincts, but if God is unwilling to work with people who are doubting and need such things, if he's unwilling to work with them, then we're basically just screwed.
Or think about this even. I mean, this is coming up in the passage, but like,
yeah.
How many of those guys showed up for the first day of being in the army, and they're like, "Oh God, I'm scared to do this. Please send me a way out." And then Gideon, God tells Gideon, "If anybody's scared, let him go home." And they were all like, "Thank you, God." How much stronger must their faith have been after that?
That's interesting.
I'm sure some of them were praying. It was like 10,000 guys, so
Right.
that must have been an answer to some amount of prayers.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect.
I would be so upset if I was one of the guys who like actually wasn't afraid, and then I just drank the water wrong, and you're like all ready to go, and he's like, "No, you're going home. You drank the water in the wrong way."
Well,
but you know what? That's cool. You could
let me try again.
Like, you could be like, "I wasn't afraid. I just drink water different." Like, that's still like a proof that you were brave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting story because all of the elements, every single one, is like, could we make it more ridiculous, right? So it's not just we're gonna do it once. It's not just that it's gonna light on fire. It's gonna light on fire while it's soaking wet. It's not just that it's gonna be a sign from God. You're gonna do the opposite, and the sign is still gonna come back. And then you're not just gonna go out to battle with a huge group of people, make it a smaller group, and now go out just with noisemakers, see what happens. It's always making it almost absurd how much God is interacting in the situation. Other thought that I had as well, I don't know if I'm supposed to think of Eden, but definitely this idea of like the dew that like the water that comes from heaven. Mm-hmm. The idea that he comes out and then it's just on the ground. It's also, though, I was just noticing this, it's indoors. It's it's on the threshing floor, which may have been an indoor, like inside of a barn kind of a thing. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems kind of more ridiculous to me that there's dew inside, right? Like,
that would be weird.
That the weather is appearing on the inside. On the threshing floor, yeah. Do we want to continue?
It's up to you.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's read a little bit more. We won't get to the other Gideon story and his death and all that stuff. But we're going to read the story of the 300. But instead of Gerald Butler, it is a bunch of Jews with noisemakers.
I should probably go to work, but I will continue listening. So,
all right, guys. Yeah, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. Thanks for swinging by, Michael.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, you want me to start?
Yeah. Let's do a little bit more.
Then Yerubbaal, I don't know how to say it. That is Gideon and all the people who were with him rose early and encamped beside the spring of Harod. And the camp of Midian was north of them, by the hill of Moreh in the valley.
Pause. Sorry.
Okay.
Look, it goes out of its way to use a different name, right? The importance of names is something that's very like we know him as Gideon. It is going to the next verse repeatedly he's Gideon, 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 Gideon all throughout this story. But again, it begins the story by calling him Tyrant's Bane, right? Like the Bane of Baal. And then in brackets, just to remind you, that is Gideon, right?
Yeah.
Like, then why are you just use one name, right? No, it is making an illustration by using his name.
It's good note.
Yeah.
Good thing to notice. Yeah. Do you know why he's doing that though?
Well, to me,
Like
it's just highlighting these elements that we're talking about.
Okay.
The idea that he's given this heroic name, right? Like a good writer, even the use of a character's name, like me and a friend. So I'm in a theater group with a bunch of friends, and a friend of mine, we sometimes do what we call Act 1, Scene 1. And Act 1, Scene 1 is my friend Taylor will come up to me and he'll be like, David, my good friend with whom I've known for multiple years, right? Is when you're watching, or in the first scene of a movie, if characters are siblings, they will call each other brother or sister. Hello, sis. I never call my sis. And that even in that movie, the person will never call them sis again. It is spelling out relationship, tension, who the character is, how those things are understood. So right from the get-go, he is not called Gideon, even though he will be for the rest of the story. He is the Bane of Baal.
Sorry, I'm here. It's just this where's the camera? This little guy just like dropped down on top of me.
Oh,
the little lizard.
Clearly, this was a sign from the Lord.
I know, right? It's one of those chameleon ones.
Before the foundations of the world.
That changes colors.
Is he changing color?
No, they will though. He's brown right now, but if you put him on a green leaf, he'll turn green. Let's see. Get on there. Nope, never mind. He's just gonna run away.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was trying to move out of the ants. I was sitting in ants, and then a lizard fell right in front of me, so I grabbed him.
I slept on Toronto Island. There's an island just off of Toronto. There's a little body of water there. And I slept on the island, and I slept on the beach. There's like a beach on there.
Oh, cool.
And didn't realize that I was sleeping on a fire anthill. I found that out in the middle of the night. That I just started getting just these fire ants.
That's tough. Have you ever seen those? What's those? Sorry, this is not even related to the story at all. But those ants. We saw them in Honduras one time. They're like, I don't know if they're called marching ants or something, but they literally just it's like just a wall. I mean, it is like millions of ants, and they basically will just they just go and just keep going. I don't know. I don't even know if they have a nest somewhere, because the lady that we saw them we were at someone's house, and she said whenever they come, you just kind of let them go, and she said they'll just go through their house and basically clean their house, like anything they miss sweeping. They said these ants will just come through and they just go through the house, and she said you just basically get out of their way and just let them go through it, and they're gone. And it's just it was nuts though. But they literally, I mean, watching them, it was crazy because everything in their path was just gone. Like there was a little scorpion that they just I mean, it was just a wall of ants just came through and took them out. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But
I think we should actually. Jason, you are a Renaissance man. Even the lizards obey you. Obey thee.
I speak. That's the second language I speak is lizard. We were talking about who the Renaissance man might have been in this corner a while back, and we were thinking Tayo or Hezi or maybe my friend Craig. We said he might be one as well, but he's not in this corner as much. So.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder about the concept of a real Renaissance man, because like what is their weak spot, right? That's what a Renaissance man isn't just someone who's got three talents. It's someone who it's like almost impossible how many things they're good at.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like we said, kind of like James Bond or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, do you want me to keep going?
I was actually thinking this probably is a good place to take a break. We went for an hour and a half.
Okay, all right.
And we've gotten some good interaction and everything. Had a good time.
Yeah, it was
This
fun that Michael popped in.
Yeah, this story, I feel like after it gets into these other sections,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of just hit the introduction of him as a character. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get through this other stuff faster.
Maybe.
So
You never
we'll
know.
have Gideon 2 Electric Boogaloo, okay?
Okay, all right. That sounds good.
That'll be the next section.
Electric
So
Boogaloo.
thanks, guys, for commenting. And we'll talk to you next week.
For watching. All right.
Unless anyone has anything else to say besides, or maybe that person who has something to say is that lizard.
Yeah, the lizard or the ants.
Yeah.
Those ants have something to say, that's for sure. That sucked.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get going. I'll talk to you later,
All right.
Jason.
I'll see you, man.